Sir, I don't think you understand. We need to leave now. Milo lashed a tentacle toward the lumbering brute he called a bodyguard. Fuck off, Jorda. Humans are like a smaller, weaker, and significantly less hairy version of you. If you can't handle just one of them, I might as well fire you on the spot. In the 10 cycles Jorda had worked for Milo, the lumbering 9-foot hairy mass had never shown even an ounce of fear. As Milo observed Jorda in that moment, that all changed. The hulking figure was visibly shaking. He wasn't just in fear, he was petrified. You don't get it, boss. They're not like other super soldiers. They're glorified fast lanes to hell. If this really is a human name-taker after you— Jorda paused for a moment to look at the vital sign monitors hooked up to the rest of Milo's security detail. And based off of that, I'd say it is. The fearless Hawkthor warlord bent down to Milo's level, placed a meaty paw on the gelatinous glob that was Milo's species' approximation of a shoulder, and locked eyes as he concluded, "We need to get the fuck out of here as fast as possible." Milo took a glance at the security feeds. He observed a lone figure clad in an elegant suit and tie pick up an ATM with one hand, only to swiftly smash it down onto a horrified hired gun a half-second later. Milo went translucent in fear as the human took notice of the camera, smiled, swirled a pistol around his finger, and blasted it. As the screen went to static, followed by another screen, and then another, Milo turned to Jorda and let out a pitiful squeak. "Get me to the shuttle now." Jorda nodded and grabbed his battle mace. "Follow me, sir." As Jorda opened the door from Milo's office and into the compound at large, an explosion could be heard from somewhere in the building. A nearby guard flinched at the noise, prompting Jorda to scowl at him and grab the guard's pistol. "Go fight the human coward." The guard stammered in protest. But my pistol! How can I fight without—" Jorda brandished his newfound firearm and roared. "Would you rather I kill you now or take your chances with the human?" The guard cowered, apologized, and darted off into the direction of the rampaging human. With that out of the way, Jorda and Milo began moving as fast as they could toward the shuttle pad. Every time either one of them began to get exhausted, they would hear a gunshot, explosion, or scream coming from behind them that would hasten their step. Terrifyingly, the noises only seemed to grow ever closer as the trek dragged on. Eventually, the duo reached a massive atrium, stretching 20 floors high, balconies lined with armed guards on every floor. Jorda escorted Milo into the glass elevator at the end of the room and slammed the door shut on several other guards trying to hoof it out of there alongside them. Milo turned to Jorda nervously. "Do you think this glass is bulletproof?" Jorda turned and said, "I sure hope it is, boss." Before Milo could let out any more awkward and horrified elevator speak, gunfire erupted in the atrium below. The human had breached the room and was clearly visible through the wondrous views of the now shockingly exposed glass elevator. Milo and Jorda watched in horror as the human lunged at a guard, delivered a single punch that caved in his skull, and stole the corpse's rifle only to aim it at the glass undercarriage of the elevator they both resided in. Milo let out a blood-curdling scream as the rifle let out a continuous stream of whips, followed by the deliverance of massive cracks in the elevator's once pristine glass visage. By the end of the rifle's supply of bullets, the elevator was so dinged up that the glass could no longer be considered transparent. While Jorda and Milo went effectively blind, their ears continued to function. Second by horrifying second, the gunfire got quieter and quieter, eventually replaced entirely only by the sound of Milo's security letting out shouts of unadulterated terror. As the elevator finally reached the 20th floor with a half-hearted ding, the gunfire and shouts had entirely stopped, but a strange thud could be heard from the atrium below in a periodic fashion. Jorda decided to state the obvious. "The human approaches, we must go." The pair were faced with a long hallway before them. At the end of it lay a set of doors that led to the shuttle pad of Milo's building. If they could make it there, they could live to die another day. Knowing this, the two set out at the highest speeds their bodies could manage toward their light at the end of the tunnel. Before the two could make it even halfway down the hallway, they heard a gargantuan crash. Milo looked behind him to see what was going on, only to see the hand of the human name-taker protruding through the elevator glass. In another second, another crash was heard, and the human busted through the glass entirely. Go on, B-Boss. Time for me to earn my pay. Jorda clearly meant for his last words to come out as noble and honorable, but between the stuttering and the violent shaking his body was subject to, they didn't quite come out that way. The massive Hawkthor hired muscle did his best to plant his feet in preparation to clash with the human, but it wasn't enough. When the human reached him, Jorda attempted to slam his mace down upon the name-taker, but the human simply caught the hammer, said, "You know I expected a lot more from someone who looks so much like Sasquatch," and swiftly put a bullet through the warlord's brain with the stolen pistol that just a second ago resided on Jorda's hip. Milo was beyond terrified to witness this happen, but he was so close to the doors that he hadn't fully yet given up hope. That was until the human caught up to him almost immediately, did a flip above him, and landed in front of him. After all of that, Milo gave up hope and began stammering. "Please, I'll give you anything you want. Money, drugs, anything." The human simply put a finger to his lips to shush the kingpin and pulled up a holographic list from his wristwatch. "Let's see here. Mr. Milo Golesh, you are charged with slavery, sapient trafficking, conspiracy to commit murder, theft, fraud, and what's this?" The human let out a slight chuckle. "See, your name probably wouldn't have come up on my roster for a year or two if it wasn't for this. Tax fraud." The human pulled out 2 grenades from his vest pockets. "Now, normally for members of your species, I give them a choice. They can either die to an incendiary or fragmentation grenade. I trust you understand that I can't simply shoot you because of your gelatinous nature." The man stopped to toss the grenades in his hands. "But I've got my own policy for slaver scum like you. You all get the incendiary." With that, the human pulled the pin to the grenade and took a few steps back. "For what it's worth, I really hope it hurts." Milo went out screaming in agony while the human strolled out the doors to the shuttle pad. As he reached the doors to the shuttle, the man pulled up the holographic visage of his personal AI assistant, Joe. "I'm not being too soft on these guys, am I?" Without missing a beat, Joe replied, "No, Bob, you're just as ruthless as ever. In fact, I must say that the average sapient may even sympathize with the slavers." Joe let out a synthetic chuckle. "Who am I kidding? Nobody gives a shit about those guys. If anything, they go out far too easy." Bob shook his head and sighed. "I guess it's a good thing the slavers removed my emotional capabilities back in the day. For some reason, I doubt the average human would find this line of work very stomachable." As Bob powered up the shuttle, Joe laughed again. "Truthfully, Bob, I think those slaver bastards did themselves a favor. Just imagine how dangerous you human super soldiers would be if you could feel anger. Hell, the thought of that scares me, and I'm not even capable of really dying." Bob was deep in thought for a moment as he began to take off. "Maybe you're right. In any case, how's my schedule looking for the rest of the week?" "Well, looks like the agency's got you scheduled to kill a dictator tomorrow, and after that, you've got a day or two off for some good old R&R. Bob eased the seat back as he glanced out the view screen to see Milo's compound engulfed in flames. "Sounds good, Joe. Make sure to get me lodgings with a shower and damn good dry cleaning. I've got a tad more Bigfoot blood on me than I'd like at the moment."
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.